Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start. If you could take your seats. We're in a little bit of a time crunch, so if everyone could come in and take their seats. If you can't find the seats, they're over here. We've laid them out. They're in this section. If you're still looking. Where's Tamara? Don't worry about it. What?
I don't know that she's
Oh.
like it's our meeting, right?
It's all what?
It's our meeting.
Oh,
I
okay.
think Felicia's gonna help.
Philippe?
The audio on
What?
the live stream wasn't on.
Oh, is
Unless
this
it
supposed
just
to be live stream?
there was like something a text.
Usually when we
message.
talk into the mic, it works.
Okay.
But we haven't done it.
I guess it was like already starting the stream and
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It's just the messenger.
Can you see if they hear when we're speaking into the mic? Because it depends which mic we use. Some mics are hooked up to it, some mics aren't.
Okay.
But usually if you talk to the mic, they hear it. You can wait. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Is it a lot of people?
One time. I only heard from one person. Like, come on, baby. But I can figure it out on my
Oh, okay. How about that? Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Okay. Hi, everyone. Shalom. Uvracha. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Okay, come on in. A few more people coming in. Is Gary coming to this? Okay, welcome. Hope everyone is doing well. It's a great time. The world's in a really good state. Everything's going awesome. So I hope you're doing well. It's obviously been a really challenging time. I'm sure you've been following everything is going on. But I think also when this is all said and done, there's going to be some positive developments. Not the least of which is hopefully there'll be a tremendous backlash on what's been happening on college campuses, and we're going to start to make significant changes because now the world has seen how out of control it's been for a long time and how it's exploded now. And I think when it's all said and done, Israel will ultimately be much, much safer. They're going to win the war. And what's also been nice is to see Jewish unity. People coming together. Jews, we were pretty split before this, and now we're starting to come back together. All these are very good things. The problem is the price that had to be paid to achieve these goals is beyond belief and overwhelmingly painful. But one of the things that has been ironic is that as the world has devolved in a lot of ways, and as we've been forced to watch ad nauseum what's going on in Israel, and I've been glued to the news 24/7 almost since October 7th. One of the things that we've seen at the same time, ironically, is a flourishing here at Temple Beth Am of everything that's happening. Our numbers at literally everything, from Friday night services to all the different programs to the numbers of Hebrew school. And Tamara and I were just talking about our sixth grade is larger than we've ever seen it here. Our religious school is larger than we've ever seen it beyond the day school, which is sold out to beyond capacity. So we're starting to see that we Jews need to be together, even more so now than ever. And so that's been really exciting. Not to mention the hub, which has been great. If you haven't been coming to the restaurant, well then, thanks for nothing. We built this thing, So I want to tell you, good, it's a good crowd. I want to tell you that, the Hub Cafe, thank you. The Hub Cafe, it's really fun. And you can meet people there for lunch. And the adult reading room is like a WeWork space. There's a million places to plug in your laptops there. We have the daily newspapers, and we'd love for you to just come and be here and use the facilities. It's your building. You paid for it, so you should come use it. It's really exciting, and the speakers that have been coming have been incredible. So we had or maybe 2 weeks ago now, we had this comedian who was here, who was the writer of Mrs. Maisel. He came. I opened up for him, which he thought was going to be great. It turned out he was really upset because couldn't keep up. But then we had this guy Santiago Cruz. I don't know how many of you are into Colombian pop music. This guy was great. So we had this guy Santiago Cruz. No one ever heard of him. So I said to our new HR person, Camilla, I said, Camilla, this guy is the #1 pop star in Colombia. She said, I'm Colombian, and I've never heard of him. I don't know what the hell. I don't know what you're talking about. But it actually, I didn't even know she was Latino, but apparently she is. Turned out it was a sellout, and then this other guy showed up who performs at, the Heat Stadium, whatever it's called these days. And his name's Fonseca. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he came out at the end and did a song, and everyone went crazy. You never know who's going to be. You never know who's going to come to the Hub. So be here and use it. We need you. Now, let's talk about B'nai Mitzvah for a moment. So you're going to get from Rabbi Greengrass, from Cantor Koyo, and Tamara some more some of the real details that you need to know and that we're going to expect you to know. So you really want to stay on top of that. Rabbi Aklepi would be here, but she's in Prague right now. I just spoke to her, and she's leading a Temple Beth Am trip through Europe, and they're just pulling into Prague. So, look, while she's gallivanting across Europe, we're here on a Sunday morning, working hard. It's all right. We're not jealous. We're not bitter. We don't mind. No, it's really great. She has a sold out trip there on a European Jewish heritage cruise, and they're doing some really cool stuff. By the way, if you're looking, well, it's maybe not the best time to advertise trips to Israel, but we have those too. And soon this war will be over, and it'll be safer than ever to go there because Hamas will be dead, and we'll be able to go back to Israel. Okay, but before we get to that, let's talk about the B'nai Mitzvah process. So I was mentioning to a couple of people before we started that before COVID started, we really hit our stride as far as the B'nai Mitzvah process goes. Now, it's very hard to say it right. If you're talking about a boy having this rite of passage, that's called a bar mitzvah. If it's a girl, it's called a bat mitzvah. If it's multiple boys, meaning more than one, it's b'nai mitzvah. If it's multiple girls, it's benot mitzvah. If it's a boy and a girl, it's b'nai mitzvah. If you're not sure what the gender is, it's bet mitzvah. That's a new term. So, if that's appropriate, we'll use that term. But when I say b'nai mitzvah, that means plural for everybody. So that's kind of the term we're using. Notice the word mitzvah at the end always stays singular. You change the first word in Hebrew when you have two nouns together. It's called smichut, not the second word. You only change the first word. So you would never say b'nai mitzvot, or b'nai mitzvim, or all the other wrong things that temple presidents have been saying over the years when they make their presentations. I've seen that a lot. Okay, so we had gotten to a point maybe 6-7 years ago where we noticed that the standards of our B'nai Mitzvah process had gone down, and we appointed from our temple board task force to try to raise the standards. And our goal was to really be, like the Harvard of, B'nai Mitzvah process. Now, that was before the war. Now we don't want to be the Harvard of anything. But, so now we want to be like the University of Florida, in Florida, or Miami, who have both reacted well this week, in the last couple of weeks. We want to be the highest of standards. So, if I would put it in NFL terms, in terms of record, we want to be the Philadelphia Eagles of the B'nai Mitzvah process. And they have the best record in the league. By the way, I was supposed to go to Philadelphia tomorrow for the World Series, and I'm very bitter. Arizona beat them. Arizona is a team no one's ever heard of one player on the team, and we still lost to them. All right, whatever. So once we started this process, we felt that we'd raise the standards to a very high level, and the students who were coming to Beth Am and having their B'nai Mitzvah here were just doing an unbelievable job. And just when we hit a peak of where we wanted to be, COVID came and destroyed everything. And we had to lower the standards because we couldn't really meet with kids as much, and everything was on Zoom, and we were doing B'nai Mitzvah in people's backyards, and we would never allow that, but now we'll allow that, and everything's a super spreader, even though no, it's not, and you'll wear a mask, but how can I wear a mask? Don't you see this dress I'm wearing? And, it got to be a real mess. So we're now finally at the point where COVID's over, and we've noticed that some of the standards have kind of lapsed. What happened during COVID had seeped into what we're doing, and we're now back. So congratulations. You are now going to have more expected of you than any parents in the history of the B'nai Mitzvah process at Temple Beth Am. So what do I mean by that? I came up with a formula a few years ago. Tamara loves it, right? This is a great formula. All right, so I'm going to tell you, I don't know if any of you are math majors, or good at math, or good with numbers, but I'm going to tell you the formula. Okay, so it goes like this. Listen closely, if you can do this kind of math in your head. 1 times 0 is 0. But 1 times 1 is 1. This was like an E equals MC squared moment when I came up with this. And I developed this theory. So you say, that's stupid, we knew that. Okay, well, what does it mean? If 1 times 0 is 0, and we, Temple Beth Am, are the 1, and you, the parents, are the 0, then 1 times 0 is 0. So what I mean by that is if we do all of the work and all of the training to get your kids ready for their B'nai Mitzvah, and you parents are not helping us, then we're going to get a kid who's probably not ready. You see what I mean? On the other hand, if 1 times 1 is the formula, and that we, Temple Beth Am, get your kids ready, and you parents are active participants and part of the team and help us do it, then you're going to have a fabulous bar bat mitzvah process. So there's a few different aspects of what needs to be done and what needs to be expected. There's a myth. I've seen this with my own kids. That just because you went to the day school, you're a Hebrew scholar of like a Nobel laureate or Pulitzer Prize level, and that your Hebrew's so fabulous because you went to the day school that you don't need to go to Hebrew school anymore when you get to 6th and 7th grade because you're Hebrew, you've learned so much Hebrew here. That's a myth. No matter who you are, once you finish 5th grade, you have to continue practicing your Hebrew. If you don't continue practicing your Hebrew, it gets really rusty and you lose it and you get to your bar and bat mitzvah and you really struggle and you're really far behind. So I can't emphasize enough a couple of things. One is how important it is to continue coming in 6th and 7th grade to Hebrew school for 2 reasons. 1, for simply the Hebrew, but 2, for the Judaica. So here's another myth. The other myth is that if just because you graduated from the day school through 5th grade, that you know as much about Judaism as any rabbi, and you don't need Hebrew school anymore because you've learned everything there is to know about Judaism. Right? That's not true. We also teach a lot of Judaica that your students need to learn, and then they need to continue. 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, and this is fact. This is fact. I don't have the numbers. but kids who stay at Beth Am through 12th grade in our programs get into much better colleges than kids who don't. Much better, much better. And kids who stay in Hebrew school programs through 12th grade have much more fulfilling lives throughout the rest of their life than kids who don't. And kids who stay through religious school through 12th grade and through all of our youth programs earn drastically more money and find spouses who make them much more happy, and their kids are better behaved if they stay through 12th grade. We don't have the exact data on that. We don't have the exact data, but it's a guarantee. It's a guarantee. Now, one more point. Well, two more points. I know that all of your kids, every single one of them, will be either in the NBA, in the Olympics, go to Juilliard, be on Broadway, or play Major League Baseball. I know that. So I know that every time that Hebrew school conflicts with baseball or basketball, if they would miss that one practice, it would derail their chances of being drafted in the lottery for the NBA. I know. I walk over sometimes and I watch the basketball and I see that these Jewish kids who may grow to like 5'7" will all definitely be in the NBA, and I get it. Right. So, listen, I told my kids, you're gonna be about as good an athlete as me. So if you maybe want to play Division III tennis, maybe that's something we could think about. But basketball, forget it. But I married a woman who converted, so she has non-Jewish genes and she's 5'9". So it turned out my kids are both taller than me, and they do play basketball. So I understand, and they missed a lot of Hebrew school over the years. And I get it. Now, they also live with a rabbi who could make up any lesson. But we understand that. We know you have a lot of conflicts, and if you're going to miss something, our programs are actually designed so even if you do have other outside interests and conflicts, you can do both. There's 100% you can do both. But I want to tell you this, and this is the most important point. Your child will take the seriousness and their cues for how serious to take their bar and bat mitzvah from you. 100% they're going to take it from you. If we tell them you have to be practicing this prayer 15 minutes a night, and you tell them, you don't really need to. Go study math. Math's well more important. Gesundheit. Then they'll internalize that, and they'll say, I don't have to do it. And then they'll come meet with us, and we'll say, how come your ve'ahavta is not good? Oh, well, I'm going to be in the NBA, right? My parents said, that's more. Okay, so they're gonna take their cue from you. So what we really need is for you to help participate and to be part of it. Here's what we can guarantee you. By the time they're done, they're going to learn the skills to be able to study Torah the right way for the rest of their lives. They'll be able to pick up any Torah portion, read it in English, and know where to go for the appropriate commentaries to be able to study Torah for the rest of their lives. We can guarantee you that they're going to have a service that they'll remember forever with a rabbi who really cares about them. If you get Rabbi Greengrass or Rabbi Aklepi. No, I'm just kidding. No, we guarantee you that you're going to get whichever one of the three rabbis you have, you're going to have time with a rabbi who really cares and will really be spending time with you. And we're also the teachers in the Hebrew school in 6th grade and 7th grade and all through high school. We have a tremendous commitment to this program. None of us teach in the day school. I want to make this very clear. None of us teach in the day school. We're involved in the day school, but none of us have classes there. But we all teach in the Hebrew school. We all teach Judaica. We're all part of the B'nai Mitzvah process because we think this is where our time is most valuable, especially with 6th and 7th graders. This is such an important time in their Jewish development. They're all going to work with the cantor. They're all going to get to know her. They're all going to really have opportunities to become experts in Jewish liturgy and develop skills that they'll need forever. But like I said, without your activity and support, we can't do it. Now, last thing I'll say, this is one of the worst things I've ever seen. It happened when I was in Fort Myers. So we used to require students when I was in Fort Myers, to come to a certain amount of Shabbats every year before their bar and bat mitzvah. And so they would come to if they had to go to 5 Shabbats before their bar and bat mitzvah, they'd come to the 5 weeks before because they hadn't done it. So I remember there was this one family. They used to drop their son off on Friday nights for Friday night services, and he would walk in. And then they would go out to dinner. And then after service, they would come and pick him up. That was like one of the worst things I've ever seen. If you're not active with them, if it's not important to you, it makes it so much harder for it to be important to them. So we expect you to come to Friday night services at least once a month and sit with them. We expect you to be part of what's going on at Beth Am beyond basketball. Basketball is important. We make a lot of money on basketball, but but beyond that, we really want to see you and here together, and let them know. And this is my last point. This is my. I have a series of last points, but this is one of them. The other worst thing I've seen is that you have a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah in like September or October. Okay, now your bar and bat mitzvah's over. My bar mitzvah's over. I don't have to go to Hebrew school anymore on Sundays. I don't have to go Monday nights anymore. I already had my bar bat mitzvah. I'm already an expert on everything there is to know about Judaism. I don't need to know. And then what happens? You skip 7th grade, you skip 8th grade, you skip 9th grade, you skip 10th grade, you skip 11th grade. You get to 12th grade. You're not prepared to go to college in terms of your Jewish knowledge. You see what's going on in college campuses, and you call me and you say, how come we don't have anything to get our kids ready for college? And my answer is, we do. You just skipped it for the last 6 years. That's what I'm telling people now. Because everybody is concerned that their kids are going to college next year, and things have changed on college campuses, and their kids aren't ready. And I said, where have you? We've been doing this for the last 6 years. I don't say it rudely like that, but I imply, we have these programs, and your kids need them. And most of the time for adults, when you lean back on something in terms of Jewish knowledge, you try to think back what you learned as a kid because you haven't been keeping up with it. And what we're trying to do is reverse that. We're trying to make our kids Jewish learners for life. Now, the last thing that I'll say is that, and then I have one more, is that everyone can have their bar bat mitzvah here, and that's fabulous. But we do have policies on this. During COVID, people were having them in their backyards. They were having them on their rooftops. They were having them in Heat Stadium. They were having them God knows where. We only do them here. We only do your bar and bat mitzvahs here at Temple Beth Am, and you'll hear about the different options. We have new buildings now, and there are different options, but we only do them here. Because if someone says, can you come do it, and we're going to fly you to Costa Rica, well, that's great. But next week, someone's going to fly me to France, and someone's going to, and we can't go all over the world doing all these B'nai Mitzvah. We only do them here. With the exception of, I know it's a weird time to say this right now, but the exception of Israel. We will always make sure, if there's no war, and I imagine this war hopefully will be over soon, maybe not as soon as usual, but hopefully before the summer, we will always have a summer trip to Israel. So if anyone wants to have a bar bat mitzvah in Israel, we, Beth Am, guarantee, unless there's a war actually going on at that time, that you can have a family bar bat mitzvah tour and service with one of our clergy in Israel. This year, assuming the war ends and we're able to go, Rabbi Greengrass is leading the Federation trip, and our families can go on that. And next year, we'll have just a Beth Am trip, and we always have one in the summer, so that is a possibility. Just point out, though, that if there are, I said we don't do them anywhere else. If there are special needs, we always make accommodations. So if you have any special needs, now, a special need can't be that well, my parents can only come, if it's in Turkey. Well, no, we're not going to Turkey to do that. But if there are, certain special needs of whatever children, then certainly we can make accommodations. So you've been amazing listeners. Thank you so much. We have a lot left to get to, so I'm going to turn it over to the rest of the team. But thank you all for being here, and thank you for taking this process as seriously as we need you to. And we'll have a great time together.
Thank you, Rabbi Barris. I do want to say we have, as Rabbi Barris said, we have a summer trip to Israel every year. Some families also choose to go privately. If you go privately, we will still help you by hooking you up with one of our tutors. If you want to meet with one of our rabbis to write your Devar Torah, we will still do that for you. Right now, we have a lot of people who had planned to do that over the next couple of months that we are making it work for them here. So just if that is something that you want to do, I want you to know that we're here for you. Hi, this is like the last year that this group is also my group, which is like wild because my Izzy's going to be a bar mitzvah in 2025. So I'm happy to be with you. I just wanted you to know a little bit of the details, the tachlis of like what the rabbi part of the bar bat mitzvah is. So all of you will make appointments with Mindy Robin. Mindy Robin is the assistant to all three of the rabbis right now. And she will make an appointment for you to come and meet with us at least 6 months before. And I'm going to put some quote marks around the 6 months. I've definitely seen sometimes it's 3 months. You're going to come with me and meet with us 6 months before. I always tell the kids this is like the easiest meeting. It's just the get to know you meeting and get to explain the process. We're going to give you the honors sheet at that point. You don't need to fill it out right then. You need that honors sheet for the last meeting. That's who's going to open the ark, close the ark, be called up for an aliyah, things like that. In your other meetings with the rabbi, that meeting's usually an hour. The other meetings with the rabbi, you can or cannot come, okay? It's for your child to study Torah with one of the rabbis. And we are going to meet with them. We're going to study the Torah portion. Children then have a question, right? Usually it's their own question that bubbles up from the Torah portion. Every once in a while, it's a question that's outside of the Torah portion. I always tell kids I give them the same privilege I take as a rabbi, which is I always study the Torah portion, but sometimes I already know what I want to talk about that week. I've only had maybe 2% of kids who do something outside. They're going to study then, whatever their question is, they're going to study biblical commentators and rabbis who have attempted to answer that question. And then they're going to give their own reflections on what do they think, how will they relate it to today. And of course, as an aspect of their speech, we want them to also talk about what bar bat mitzvah means to them. We want them to have an opportunity to thank family members. And one of the most important things, I think, is the mitzvah project. Becoming bar bat mitzvah means you're a son or daughter of the commandments, right? And they're showing that they're taking on ritual commandments by leading a service. They're wearing a talis for the first time, which, by the way, the Chosen is here today. They're a great option for buying a talitot. They are reading Torah for the first time. They're doing all of these rituals. And there's two kinds of commandments. There's ritual mitzvot. Those are between you and God. And then there's ethical mitzvot, which are between you and God's creation. So one of the things that we do challenge our students to do is a mitzvah project, which is showing that they're not on ritual mitzvot, but ethical mitzvot. So that is a good thing. If you already have ideas, you can start whenever. At that 6-month meeting, we're going to remind you. I'm also the clergy liaison for the Tikkun Olam committee. They are so happy. There is actually a designated person, Marty Elfenbein, who is the Tikkun Olam person to help any bar bat mitzvah students who are looking for a mitzvah project to try and figure out what their project is. I'm also happy to meet with you. I'm sure all of the clergy would be. So that's a little bit what it will look like with the rabbis. So we're going to have like shorter meetings where we're writing the Devar Torah, and then the last meeting is the whole family together, so you can practice. This is how you walk in. This is where you're going to stand when you're doing the talis presentation, etc. And then the student is going to practice delivering their Devar Torah from the bima. I cannot tell you how important that is, right? Because we all know you could say the most interesting thing, but if you're looking down and you're doing it monotone, nobody's going to pay any attention to you, right? And that's when it's boring. But you can have like a pretty mediocre thing to say, but if you have a lot of energy, everybody's going to love it, right? So it's a really important meeting. I can speak for myself at least, I want your input at that meeting as well, because only you know like what your student is capable of. That being said, I also want to just say that all of the clergy here in Florida are bound by something that's called complete confidentiality. I'm sure you all know what confidentiality is. Normal confidentiality for people who are under the age of 18 is not complete, right? So like the pediatrician can tell you if your child has a rash, right? With clergy, it's complete, which means that we're not supposed to tell you what your kids say to us if they tell us not to, okay? I think this is the most wonderful thing in the world. I want you guys to know that your children can always come to us, and they can talk to us about anything, and we will be there for them, and we will love them, and we will make sure they are safe and try to guide them in the best way possible. They are also like entering adulthood, so we want to make sure that they know that they have a safety net of adults in a community that cares about them. A lot of our college students, as Rabbi Barra said, are really struggling right now. Every time one of them calls, I feel terrible, but also like super grateful. Grateful that they know that they have us, no matter how they're feeling. So that being said, anytime during the Bar Bat Mitzvah process, if you have questions, we are all here. If one of us happens to be on an amazing cruise down the Danube, you can reach out to one of the others, even if that's your rabbi, okay? We're all here for you. We're a team, and we just want everybody to feel super successful. That being said, I know a lot of students have learning differences. If your child has any learning differences, just please let us know. It's going to help us in terms of who we pick to be that child's tutor, our expectations, and also like how we work with them. All right, thank you. I cancer.
What a vote. Hello. Hi, everyone. So nice to see you. Mazel tov. So exciting to have a room full of people starting this process. As the cantor, the senior cantor, I get to direct the B'nai Mitzvah program. So if you have questions about tutoring or the process, I'm the person who you would go to. We also made an incredible hire a few months ago of this fabulous woman sitting behind me. This is Felicia Cook. Yes, you need to give her a round of applause because she's really the gatekeeper of everything B'nai Mitzvah. All the logistics go to Felicia, and we are so lucky to have her. You are so lucky to have her. It's been an incredible few months, already seen everything she's brought. A few things that I want to talk to you about this morning. First of all, I had a student a few months ago who came in and didn't know the Ve'ahavta prayer, and their mom said, why don't you just YouTube it? There's so many cantors on YouTube singing Ve'ahavta. Just YouTube it in your room and you're going to learn the Ve'ahavta. I can't believe you don't know the Ve'ahavta. You're in 7th grade. You should know that. And my reply, or I don't know if I said it out loud, but at least in my head, was if you would have come to services all these years, you wouldn't have to YouTube a cantor in your room singing Ve'ahavta. We are your YouTube. live. Come join us, pray with us. And that is so important. This Friday night, the 5th graders are going to be leading Shabbat. But our new series, it's called the Family Friendly Shabbats, formerly known as Grade Level Shabbat, is now a chance for everyone in the religious school and the day school to come together once a month and pray. And you will hear the Ve'ahavta live, and you can follow along with your child. So that's number one. Number two, as the rabbi had said earlier, that if you come throughout high school, you will get a better job and find a better spouse. Perhaps the research hasn't been done on that, but the research has been done that if your child is involved in Jewish programming after 7th grade, there has been studies on this, that is the time of life where they solidify Jewish identity. So it's after 7th grade, a high school, middle school program. So even if you have been a part of our incredible religious school and day school, that is the time where it solidifies. So I just wanted to say there is research on that. Number three is we've created, Felicia and I, with the help of our great rabbis, have created a process for the B'nai Mitzvah program where you will be receiving along your journey sign-up sheets. One of those sign-up sheets is going to happen very soon, and Felicia will talk about that. That's probably the most important part of this meeting, is how you're going to sign up for your date. And you will be able to submit 3 top choices, and then Felicia and I are going to take all of your choices. There's a lot of you in this 4th grade level, and we're going to take all of those choices, and we're going to do some sort of Tetris lineup where we're going to be able to give everyone as best as we can the dates that you request. But when that sign-up sheet goes live, we're going to tell you the date, we're going to tell you the time. It is going to be first come, first serve, and after a week or so, we're going to start then putting it all together. So that's probably one of the more important things. After that sign-up sheet, as you get closer to your date, in a few years from now, you'll get another Google form, and that will be your chance to answer a lot of the questions that Rabbi Greengrass said. If your child has any learning difficulties, if they are newer to Hebrew, that's where you would give us all of that information, and we'll do our best to be able to match you at that point with clergy, with tutors, and start creating your B'nai Mitzvah process. Okay, so those were some important things I want to say. Beyond that, one of the great things about our synagogue, the best kept secrets that Rabbi Barris had told me when I first came here, was that we are a large synagogue with small town benefits. So we have this incredible facility and all of this great staff, and at the same time, as Rabbi Greengrass had said earlier, you get to have this real nice personal connection with your clergy here. And that personal connection can always start now. It doesn't need to wait for your B'nai Mitzvah process. So we are here to support all of you and your children throughout this process in the way that we can. One of the things that is unique to my philosophy, especially with this grade, where we have, I think, 90 kids. So in other synagogues, it might feel like a B'nai Mitzvah factory. Here, it's not going to feel like that because we will get to know your child and their unique talents, abilities, and interests. And as much as they want to work with us and you want to work with us, we will craft a service for them that feels like your family. If you have a child who is a competitive dancer, for example, I had a child in the past who choreographed a prayer that they then danced at their bar bat mitzvah. If your child is someone who's very creative artistically and wanted to paint a prayer, we could put that on display on an easel at your service. If you have family members who are from Spain and they want to read a prayer in Spanish, we will include them. If you like more traditional Hebrew melodies, we will include it. If you have kids who go to camp and they want to do their camp melodies and bring up their camp friends, we will accommodate that. So it's a really beautiful individualized program. Even if I'm not officiating or someone else here isn't officiating, we can still help you to craft that service. If you have a great sibling who wants to help lead a prayer, we will include them as well. What else do I want to tell you guys about? Oh, services. So we have different types of services. Oh, well, we'll go back. I can tell that slide first. Okay. So the other part of that, oh yeah, I did all of that. Great. What do we have next? Okay, the different types of services. So morning, 10:30 in the morning, because we have 90 of you. If you sign up for a morning service, there is a chance that it could be a doubles, that you would be sharing it. There are more than enough prayers to make your child shine on that day. At the same time, in our main sanctuary, which, by the way, if there's no bar and bat mitzvah, there's no service happening there. There's always at 10:30 in the morning a chapel service happening, a reform minyan, every single Saturday morning that you're always welcome to join. That service is another option for your child to have a B'nai Mitzvah experience. But look at the size of this room. It's a smaller space, and we have 25 or 30 regulars who come to that service. So if you want to invite 150 people to your B'nai Mitzvah service, you cannot have this space. It just wouldn't work. But you can, especially if your child is someone with learning disabilities or is very shy. This is an incredible, best kept secret of Beth Am and a great opportunity. And while Rabbi Aklepi and our cantorial soloist Jessica Bass lead this service normally, you could have another clergy person step in and lead it. I've come in, Rabbi Greengrass has. We love doing it. So those are our 10:30 morning options. So we can really do 3 kids of the 90 in one morning. It's amazing. Mincha, our afternoon service, we have less prayers, and that's at 5. It's a little bit shorter. That's at 5:30 p.m. That one will not be a double. However, if you sign up for that, you then are obligated to have your party here. And Felicia can talk more about that. I don't know all of those details. But then you go right from the service into the party. The best part about the mincha service, in my opinion, because I'm more of a traditionalist, I like the 10:30, if one day when I imagine my own child's B'nai Mitzvah. But what I do love about that, and what's really tempting, is that the Havdalah service that we end with, when we turn off the lights and we have the braided candle and everyone comes forward, is so moving and so beautiful that it really rivals with the 10:30, and they just are both excellent options. And then we also do services on Rosh Chodesh, which is when there's a new month. You can do a service on a weekday for your child on Mondays or Thursdays. And that would be an opportunity for you to be able to have your own service that day, because this is a big year of 90 kids, if you were worried about that. And we would accommodate you. And then you could still have your party on the weekend, which would be great. Next slide. Okay. Within the service itself, the students lead 85% of the service, the English, the music, the Hebrew. They chant Torah and Haftarah. And then there's a number of honors. So everything, these first 3 things, your tutor and the cantor who works with you will work on those. The honors, that you work with the rabbi for. So if you have questions for honors, you'd go to the rabbi. The other 3 things, you would go to me. Here's a pop quiz. Does anyone know what Haftarah is? Anyone know what Haftarah is? Is it a trick question? I don't know. The commentary of the Torah, no, it's not that, but nice guess. Nice guess. Anyone know what Haftarah is? So here's the interesting thing. I have a lot of parents. If you have a child who's not been studying and might be behind in Hebrew, Haftarah is the last thing we get to in the process. And I'll have parents all the time. In fact, Jessica, who's the cantor solo, she came into my office and she said, I have a parent, the kid hasn't been studying the bar mitzvahs in 1 month, and this kid doesn't know their haftarah, but the parent says it's necessary. I said, well, ask them if they know what it is. Because a lot of people don't know what it is. So a lot of parents feel like, oh, I want my child to learn their haftarah. It's so important. So I'm going to tell you what it is so you can decide, No, it really is important, actually. So haftarah comes from the book of prophets. So everything that's in our Torah scrolls that are behind this little brigade here, what is this called, the ark? In the ark. That's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And your child will have a portion where they'll unroll the Torah scroll and they'll read from the Torah without vowels. They'll chant it. It's a lot of work, the hardest thing that they're going to do. The Haftarah is paired on a Shabbat with their Torah portion from another part of our Jewish Bible called the Book of Prophets. In Hebrew, it's called Nevi'im. And each Torah portion is paired with a portion from the Book of Prophets because a long time ago when there was anti-Semitism, a long time ago, our ancestors couldn't read from the Torah scroll, but they could read from books. And so they would, in secret, open up the Book of Prophets, and they found themes that were similar and would read that instead of the Torah so that they could get the lessons learned and continue the tradition. So we've kept that as a part of our tradition, and today do both, Torah and Haftarah. So now you know. Prophets, the Book of Prophets, each kid gets a few verses that they can learn to chant, and there's a blessing before, a blessing after that they learn as well. Okay, great. So let me just make sure I covered everything I wanted to do with you guys today. One more thing. You will each get a mentor who will be assigned from you. This happens 10 months prior. This is the email that Felicia will send out. You will, around 7 to 8 months before, set up 22 sessions with that tutor. If for some reason it's not the best match in the world, not everything is the best match, let's try to figure that out earlier than later. It is so important that you have communication with your tutor, that you just don't drop them off. I have a drum teacher who comes and teaches drum lessons to my son. I don't communicate with him. I have no idea what he's doing with my kid. I just know that he's progressing. That's okay, that's drumming, right? That's not his bar mitzvah. It is so important that you don't drop your child off like you do for a dance lesson or a sport as you do for the bar mitzvah lesson. You ask questions. You make sure they're progressing. You're an active participant. So important. And if you have any issues with the tutor or the pairing, let's figure it out early on. One more thing about that. If the 22 sessions is not enough, which again, if your child is behind at all, which happens sometimes, you can always work directly with that tutor and have more sessions and pay them privately. You could meet 2 times a week if their flexibility allows. So that's available to you as well. Thank you so much. That was so much information. My door is always open. Call me, text me, email me. Thank you.
So my name is Tamara Donenfeld. I'm the Director of Lifelong Learning. So for those who are day school parents, you're going to get to know me once your children move into 6th grade. We know that day school ends in 5th grade. So then we have actually a passage to 6th grade, and that's where day school and religious school are together. I am the doing of the bar mitzvah, okay? You cannot go into bar mitzvah prep if you haven't been in day school and then go into religious school. It is that simple. We do not teach our children to repeat, and we don't teach transliteration, which means that our kids learn Hebrew and are able to actually read from Torah or read from Haftarah, we do not prepare them so they become parrots, okay? Nothing like that. Before talking about the preparation, I want to piggyback on the mitzvah projects that Rabbi has spoken. On the last day in December of our religious school, which is December 17, we're going to have a B'nai Mitzvah fair. That B'nai Mitzvah fair is going to be led by different organizations like JNF, Magen David Adom, Kosher Food Bank, and, which I think all the Tikkun Olam projects that exist in here, like the garden, like the Mitzvah Day, Tikkun Olam in terms of all the different projects that Tikkun Olam offers, and post-B'nai Mitzvah teens. We want those teens to come and tell our 5th and 6th graders what they did for their Bar Mitzvah project, so they can inspire them and give them some tools. Sometimes we don't know what we want to do, but we want to do something. So we're going to be learning from different organizations and teens as well. This is going to happen December 17 at 10:30, right after Tefillah. So you guys and your children are welcome. Okay, 6th grade. I'm sorry if you are in 6th grade because you already know that. So you have 2 choices. You can come to religious school on Sunday morning or on Friday. We have created the Friday track mainly for day school parents that are used to a Monday through Friday type of program. Having said that, we welcome religious school students whose Hebrew is intermediate or advanced. Now, the deal with Friday is that the students are going to have a shorter day of learning, but they're going to stay for Kabbalat Shabbat. So from 6:30 to 7:30, they're going to be in the sanctuary participating as part of the Keilah, the community. I don't want to ask you to raise your hand because I don't want to know, but I wonder how many of you come to Friday night services. Great. Awesome. However, so we don't want tefillah, we don't want bar mitzvah to be a show, to be some kind of presentation to the world. We want it to be authentic. The only way that we can make it authentic is, first of all, by teaching during religious school about Judaism and about Hebrew, but also about executing and being Jews ourselves, okay? We have Shabbat every single Friday. Okay, so if you are on the Friday track, you get to not only learn about Shabbat and about customs and about how to become an adult under the Jewish law, but you're going to be celebrating Shabbat here with the community. Sunday mornings, if your child is going to be coming on Sunday morning, they're going to have Hebrew, they're going to have Judaica with the rabbis, okay? The rabbis are the Judaica teachers. I have been an educator for decades, and I have not been in any congregation aside of Beth Am where the clergy is teaching kids. You require patience, you require incredible, and you require understanding the importance of building that relationship. And our clergy does that. They do it in 6th grade on Sundays. Friday, there is no way. They have Shabbat. They can't do that, okay? They do it in 7th grade on Monday Night High, and they do it in 10th grade for confirmation. And fellowships, okay? So our clergy is stretched very